Anthony used to be so funny and so fucking quick. Here's a guy that would go back and forth with Brian Regan and Patrice O'Neill and Andrew Dice Clay.
When I was working at WBAB, I was #1 in my time slot, just crushing it. Then I met Anthony, and I even told the people at BAB, man, I got something. I knew right away I had something.
I love the one-sided BS. Look, I had my own faults on the radio show, of course. He doesn't take blame in anything. Falling asleep on air. All the days he was distracted trying to pick up women on Pal Talk. Anthony also had fake accounts attacking me on a regular basis. He had to turn this into me against him garbage. He's unbelievable at gaslighting and manipulating. I know everybody wants the Hollywood ending. You're not gonna get it, man. I saw a video of Anthony calling into your show after he got fired and you seemed to get along. Did he do something messed up after that? I'm very behind on all this. You sure are, Blue Apron. The answer would be that I don't know what happened. We were after not talking for 2 years after he got fired for his racist rant. We started talking again, and it was going well. And I had a vision that we could somehow keep the brand going, maybe in a different way, not doing a full-time show anymore. But certainly there was enough there to get something going and keeping the brand going. And then out of nowhere, he just started hating on me again. And that was the end of that. Was that before or after he made Twitter accounts mocking you? Yeah, Anthony also had fake accounts attacking me on a regular basis. This is all the stuff that has been coming out, because what's really interesting is he pissed off a few old listeners, and a few of these people have really given me some real good inside dirt. And I know they're credible. I told the Pal Talk story. I think it was yesterday or the day before. And he also had fake accounts just literally attacking me. Crazy. God, but we were doing great today, Paul R. I don't care if Ant likes my beer show. I have no respect for the guy, so I don't care what he likes or doesn't like about me. If I needed some advice on being a racist or chasing very, very young girls, then I would be like, oh, I know who I could trust on this. I'm going to call him. But as far as what he thinks about what I'm doing, about my beer show, I don't give two shits. Literally don't care. Ooh, that's harsh. Yeah, it is harsh. I don't think people have paid attention to all the garbage and the crap that Anthony put me through for a very long time. So, yeah, it is harsh. The internet's littered with Anthony trashing so much stuff of mine. And then, oh, he likes my beer show? Go after yourself. I don't care. Rants about caring. All right. You know what? You got me. You got me. My point was I don't care about what he thinks of my beer show, and I was ranting about that. So I guess you're right. Wow, we got ourselves a psychologist checking this out today. You're not going to beat me with psychology. I took all sorts of psychology classes in college. I'm fascinated by people and how they think. You're not going to get me with that Psych 101 garbage. I don't know what to say to you. I go through my life I don't think about the Opie and Anthony stuff. The only time it comes up is on these live streams. It's the only time. I have no desire to ever do a radio show with Anthony again. Okay? And I love the one-sided BS. You know, the stuff that Anthony would have to admit to even bring us to the table? But you would have to admit something. Shut up. I know everybody wants the Hollywood ending. You're not going to get it, man. I don't give two craps. I don't. Here, I'll put it on the big screen. I don't give two craps. I don't have respect for either one of those guys, so why would I care? If you don't respect someone, why would you care what they have to say? Now, I'll tell you the truth. Here's some truth. If Brother Weeze was talking me and saying some really god awful things about me and the person I was, right, I would be incredibly bummed. Incredibly bummed. But this is how it works in life. If you don't respect somebody and they're talking about you, why would you care? There's no reason to care at that point. Oh, I came across the Opie and Anthony CD yesterday, cleaning out my CD collection. Right on. That thing holds up, the Demented World CD. It's such a shame, man. The amount of shit we just didn't do, the amount of money we left on the table, and one of those things. Oh, I know why, though. I can answer my own question. So we put out a CD in Boston, Demented World, and then the problem was that me and Anthony got so famous, which obviously was a really, really good thing, but it prevented us from doing certain things because now we had more eyes on us. And one of those things was putting out, more CDs. The Demented World CD, when we were up in Boston, that thing actually charted on music charts, CD charts around the country, even though we were a local show. But that thing broke through. And people were buying it all over the country, even though they didn't know who the hell we were, because the stuff on there was really, really funny and edgy and very, very different for the time. And then we moved to New York, and we start crushing it down there. And then I'm like, yeah, it was me again. I'm like, we got to put out another CD. So I worked on it really, really hard with this production guy. This thing was unbelievable how funny it was. I think it was way better than Demented World, and I'm proud of that Demented World CD to this day. Getting excited. We're thinking, oh my God, we're going to sell millions because now we're really popular. So the lawyers come around. They're like, we want to take a listen to that CD before we put it out. I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we go. Like, no, there's no worries. There might be a small edit or suggestion, or we might want you to take a couple tracks off the thing. But, it's a double CD. Don't worry. We hand the CD and the double CD to the lawyers. It was going to be called Cringe. The artwork, by the way, was fantastic. Me and Anthony, early days of photoshopping, looking really grungy and naked and homeless in the subway system of New York City. I mean, this thing would have been amazing. Lawyers came back a day later, 2 days later. They're like, we can't put this out. And it was literally, this is what's so frustrating about lawyers. It was literally bits that were already on the radio. So we had to follow FCC regulations. So everything on the CD was already heard on the radio. I'm like, what do you mean we can't put it out? Oh my God, we'll get FCC violations and people will sue and this and that. And so that thing was put in a drawer. God, I don't know if we were going to put it out around 2000, and that's 22 years ago. It was just put in a fucking drawer. It was such a bummer. At every turn, the lawyers at these big radio companies would just make it harder and harder. And even with all that, we were able to figure it out. There was no reason. They always thought so conservatively. That's why regular radio is completely dead in the water, because they allowed the lawyers to get too involved with the content, with the product. I don't understand why everyone came down on you. Oh, yeah, I don't deserve any of this horse shit. It's Anthony and his fucking issues and his stupid fucking brain, and he had to turn this into me against him garbage, which is so sad after the run we had. Ant says you changed because of your in-laws. He doesn't know shit about me. The guy never chose to know anything about me. My in-laws, okay. Blue collar people from Philly, they changed me. See, he's unbelievable at gaslighting and manipulating. He's really fucking good at it. But the fact is, Anthony doesn't know shit about me. He's never been in this building. I've lived here for more years than I could count. He never gave a shit to even meet my fucking kids. He walked out of my wedding with a whole bunch of people. He's a fucking terrible person that doesn't know anything. I mean, he doesn't know anything about me. I changed. He's the one that changed. We had a fun, goofy show that dipped into politics here and there. But in general, it was just a fun, silly, hilarious show. And then he hijacked the entire show for his racist rants. Guy is insane. Patrice going on racist rants destroyed the show. Probably some of the worst radio. No, when Patrice was, I know what you're doing, you sarcastic son of a bitch. You think I'm a rookie at this shit? You can always pick out one thing that worked. Of course, I'm not stupid. You know, I got to get rid of this guy. He's had a couple douchey comments. That's what people do. The fact is, see, you're going to get the honesty from me. In general, Anthony ruined our goddamn show going on his stupid racist rants. The first hour of every show for the last few years was him just babbling about black people over and over again. And then he would seg into his stupid gun talk over and over and over again. And we would just sit there on our hands. Jimmy would sit there on his hands as well. But with that said, of course, when Patrice came in and they went back and forth, that was good radio. I can admit that. Fucking guy thinks he got me. What an idiot. Did you ever call him out on air about his rants? No, I did not. I didn't want anything to do with it. You know, and I don't regret that. I didn't want to go back and forth with a guy that was just ranting about race every morning. I decided to do radio with this guy because he was really fucking funny and quick. Anthony used to be so funny and so fucking quick. He was funnier than just about any comedian that went on the show, especially in the early days. And then next thing you know, the guy, I guess, let his true self out. And that is a guy that is obsessed with race. And he blew off everything else. The laughs went away. The guy would sit there for the first hour yelling and screaming about this and that. And then he brings eugenics. He starts discussing eugenics on our radio show. And I remember Jimmy that day. We looked at each other like, oh, what the fuck? And then he just started coming in, looking a little tired and slower, falling asleep on air. That's when he would come in. Like, it got to a point, the staff would be so fucking pissed. It's like, is he coming in today? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I would say yes, Ant's rants kind of did change the show. I mean, maybe it brought probably new people in that shoved old people out. You know? Look, I had my own faults on the radio show, of course, but I mean, he doesn't take blame in anything. Nothing. Oh my God. Why did you and Ant start to get on good terms and do his show and then things went backwards again? No fucking idea. That was it though. That was the last straw. After taking like over 2 years off of not talking to each other at all, when I started a new show with Carl and Vic and Sherrod and DeStefano, I started taking calls from Anthony. We did about 6 of them, I think, maybe more. And they went great. They were half-hour calls on both our shows at the same time. It was funny. The chemistry was there. And even though we didn't really get along, you could still hear the chemistry. And it was a chance to keep the brand going. And then I turned down going there. It wasn't the right place for me, but it didn't mean I didn't want to continue maybe doing these phone calls and seeing where it leads. And next thing you know, he went back to like hating. And that was it. I was like, I can't do this. Like, what are you doing? There was no problem at that point. It was promising, absolutely promising. You know, there was a lot of money to be made from Opie and Anthony. So I wasn't stupid. I was like, all right, we don't get along, but God, these phone calls are great. I don't have to see the guy. We could, knock out a half-hour phone call, 40-minute phone call, and then we could go and do our separate shows, which made a lot more sense at that time. And that would have brought in some that would have brought in stupid money for both of us. And is very talented, but he has issues. That is more than fair. Right there, that is more than fair. I mean, the guy's got to look deep into himself. And just saying that, it'll make him laugh. But it is the truth. He's got some major shit he's never dealt with. I had major shit in my life that I'm dealing with to this day, trying my hardest, because now I got responsibilities with my wife and my kids. But you're looking at a guy that has major issues and never did anything about it. And will just blame everybody else. Everybody else. I mean, he gets physically upset when he talks about race. And here's a guy that would go back and forth with Brian Regan and Patrice O'Neal and Andrew Dice Clay. And he was the better comedian most of the time in those scenarios. And he let all that go, all of it. So he could talk about his obsession with guns and race. I apologize for the nonsense. But it's just infuriating. I'm not going to be anyone's punching bag. If anyone wants to talk about all the horse shit I did on the show, then he's got to start talking about all the horse shit he did. All the days he missed without even really telling anybody if he was even going to show up. All the days he was falling asleep while the mics were on. All the days he was distracted trying to pick up women on Pal Talk. And I could go on and on. There's a million of those things. So start talking about the bullshit you brought to the radio show. Okay, thank you. So now you hate Bill Burr, really? Now people hate Bill Burr, really? Oh, Christ! You know what? You want to know the truth? You ready, Aldo? I'm going to give you the truth because I'm not anchored down to any of these garbage people anymore. Anthony Cumia was 100% wrong for approaching Bill Burr at the Comedy Cellar. He knows what he said about Bill, his wife, and black people in general. So he was 100% wrong for trying to approach Bill Burr at the Comedy Cellar after having a whole bunch of drinks. There's your hot take. And he should take responsibility. Start there. Take a little responsibility for that. He was absolutely wrong. You know what's so funny? It's like you give your honest take on the Anthony Cumia Bill Burr thing. Anthony was completely wrong. I mean, completely wrong. And then you got these blind followers that now have to beat the crap out of Bill Burr and attempt to take Bill Burr down. You ain't taking Bill Burr down. You think Opie and Anthony were famous? Bill Burr is 10 times more famous than we ever was. The fact is Anthony was wrong, and he should take responsibility for that. It would go a long way in his dumb world. Did Ann Kohler text you for your big? God, no, man. Even when we were, God, no, Andrew. Why don't you want? There were so many little things that Ant never did that also played into the fact that I don't want anything to do with the guy. When we were doing the Opie and Anthony show, he never called me on my birthday or did it. Nothing. Literally zero. Maybe he texted me once in our 20 years for one of my birthdays. Maybe. No, of course he didn't text. God, no. Hey, Ope, I've always been curious about your original solo shows before Ant came on board. Is there anywhere I can listen to those? I mean, it was back in the day. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of tapes from my solo shows. They're in storage. Maybe I could start pulling those out and posting them. They will probably sound a bit dated, but I could tell you at the time, especially when I was working at WBAB, I was number one in my time slot, just crushing it, absolutely crushing it. People loved my my solo show at WBAB. But now if I play it, I bet you'd be
a bit antiquated. I haven't listened to those tapes in years. You should upload those, upload my solo shows. Yeah, maybe I could do that with a little disclaimer that these sound antiquated. Maybe they don't, though. I was always doing something a little different. I had quite the fan base when I was doing the solo show at WBAB. That I met Anthony, and I even told the people at BAB, man, I got something. I knew right away I had something. I said to BAB, I go, look, just give us a better slot. At that point, I was doing 7 to midnight, which was a fun shift when you were younger. And I said, just give me a better slot. Give me afternoons. Give me mornings, bitch, and we'll stay here. And they didn't see it. Dumb BAB. They are dumb, 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 dumb. They had Opie and Anthony in the palm of their hands with the main guy that started the whole thing, going to them and saying, look, I'm from Long Island. I've traveled all over the place doing radio. I'm happy being home. I got something here. It's going to be called Opie and Anthony instead of Opie. And all you have to do is give me a nice raise and give me a nice, a better shift, and we're yours. And they couldn't see it. That's like, I saw recently online, Bono, he must have posted it because he would be the only person at the time that would have this, but he has a rejection letter from a record company. It's similar to that. Can you imagine being the dummy that says, yeah, I don't see it, as Bono is handing in U2's music and you as a record rep go, I just don't see it. Write him a rejection letter. I'm sure if you do a quick search, you can find that online. But a record company rejected U2. Oh, my God. And the same thing happened with Opie and Anthony. All I wanted was more money and a better shift. Here you go, bitches. I know this is going to work. Yeah, we can't do that. All right, we're out of here. I had an offer in Dallas. I sent out the tape. This was around early 95. I knew the damn thing was so good, and we only did a couple shows together, and I put some demo air checks together, they're called, and I sent them out. I sent one to Dallas for whatever reason. I think because they had an opening, and Ron Valeri was already sniffing around, and he was trying to get me to go to WAAF to do nights. And I said, well, I'm working with this new guy. I want to send you a tape. So I sent him a tape, and he's like, well, now, how about afternoons? So I quickly got an offer to do afternoons with Anthony at WAAF. And I also got an offer to do, I think it was afternoons at the time, in Dallas. And I always loved that Boston area. So I went to BAB. They thought I was bluffing. So they kind of called what they thought would be my bluff. And they're like, yeah, we can't do anything. But, maybe we could give Anthony a few bucks, nothing crazy, to have him on your show. And I'm like, well, that's not going to be good enough. And I think they thought I was bluffing. And I went to this guy, Jeff. I don't want to say his last name. He's a good guy. Jeff, we're leaving. He walked down the hall like he saw a ghost. I remember it like it happened yesterday. He was just like, what? But what happened? What happened? And then he pulls me in his office. Is there anything we could do? And I go, I think at that point I still said, look, if you match the offer, we'll consider staying. I can't. Well, but we can't do that because they had old timers there that were in those seats for a long time. But I'm like, all right, we're out of here. Here's my 2 week notice. Dummies.